This video is brought to you by Sheet Happens. More about that at the end of the video.
My name is Dean. I play in a death metal band called Archspire, and I play guitar. As you can see, there's a guitar there, and there's a bunch more here. So there's something I wanted to talk about today because I know that a lot of people have dealt with this. So imposter syndrome is a psychological pattern where an individual starts to doubt their skills and accomplishments and is worried about people finding them out as like a fraud in their chosen field of study. I've definitely dealt with this enough, but it hasn't ruled my life in the same way that other people I've talked to. So when I was teaching guitar full-time for a few years, I did so at a music school here in British Columbia. When I first started, I was like, oh, I need to give them all these rigid, like they have to learn scales, they have to learn chords, all this kind of stuff. And those are really important, but what's more important as a teacher of music is just to enrich a student's life with creativity and give them maybe the ability to express themselves musically. And it can be really fulfilling to do that, even though sometimes the kids don't want you to do it. I'll never forget the absolute terror and fear that I felt every time that a student would bring sheet music in from band class. Just like sweaty palms, just stress and anxiety. It sucked. For one reason or another, I never really learned how to read sheet music very well. Like I was like kind of okay at it. I didn't push myself to do it. There was a time where I was trying to do that, but every few days I would go, okay, I'm gonna sit down and spend more time. And I just like, it never resonated with me. And I just got very frustrated. It felt like it took me out of the musical expression that I love so much. That's not to say that I don't enjoy music theory. I learned plenty of music theory, specifically practical theory on guitar. So talking about different shapes and how they're built with intervals and how chords look and why they look the way that they do and how to dissect certain things and build cooler sounds using the pitches that you're given in a key. I do love music theory, but for whatever reason, that particular form of communication of sheet music just like never spoke to me. And it was just more frustrating than anything. So when a 9-year-old kid comes in and brings a piece of paper into the room and asks you to play it, and being a 30-something-year-old man, it's really, really an awful feeling because you feel like you shouldn't be there. You feel like you're going to be found out as cheating your way into that job somehow. And that's the feeling that I got every time a kid would bring in sheet music. So this is how imposter syndrome manifested in my life. It was a constant fear of being found out and that I'm not skilled enough to be sitting in that seat, taking people's money, and the things that I was offering was not at the same level that other teachers were offering their services, and I was the odd one out, and I wasn't good at my job, and I was gonna be fired or whatever. But that never happened. So the reason why it didn't happen is because I'm good at teaching guitar. I have weaknesses just like anybody else does, but never once did a student's parent complain. Never once did I hear about a refunded lesson because it wasn't what they wanted. Never once did I have a student go, oh man, you really suck at this, you know. It just never happened because I'm a good guitar teacher. I know how to communicate ideas musically. I know how to play to my strengths, but that fear was still there all the time. So imposter syndrome can manifest in many ways. It could be like a general anxiety all day, a fear of performing live and having your instrument a little bit too loud, and everybody in the audience is going to hear the mistakes that you're making and realize that you're a fraud, that you shouldn't be there. It can be jamming with some people and you procrastinated learning something because you thought you sucked at it, and you go to the jam spot and you play it and you notice every little imperfection and you feel like shit. Yeah, it can manifest in a lot of different ways. All of them are pretty bad. But the truth is, pretty much all the time, the worst judge of you is you. There's a really big tool that I suggest people use when trying to overcome this sort of feeling that you don't belong with the instrument in your hands, and that's playing in front of a mirror. There's a lot of benefits to doing this just generally. It allows you to flip your perspective of the guitar so that you see what somebody else might see, and you learn to sort of analyze your hand that way, and it's all good for that. But what it really does is it puts you in the perspective of someone else. So most of the time when we're playing guitar, we're looking down at ourselves playing guitar, and you're the only person that'll ever see you like that. So when you are looking down and you're seeing this mess of strings below you, your hands, your legs, you're putting yourself in sort of like this other camp. Everybody else looks a certain way and you look this way. And it can be like just a simple switch like that where you see yourself playing in a mirror or in a video, and it becomes more and more obvious that there's no real difference between you and the people that you look up to, other than potentially a few years of practice or just some skill that they have that you haven't quite mastered yet. When you see your favorite musicians, you generally see them elevated in some way. So you see them big on a screen or higher up on a stage, and you see them from that perspective. And when you can see yourself from that perspective as well, it'll help you realize and get past the fact that they almost definitely have their own flaws, but those people have made a career out of their strengths. Once you see that the artist and you are just two humans with some wood and strings, then it'll take you one step closer to becoming a peer of that musician. Just by a simple change in perspective, you'll change the path, potentially, that you take in life. Holding yourself back by thinking you're going to get found out is pretty much a lose-lose. And it is something that you can work towards changing, because everyone feels that to one extent or another. So you're not alone, and you're almost definitely no worse than anybody else. Everybody needs to practice. If you can do that perspective switch, then I think you'll be on the path to what you want to do, fulfilling musical endeavors or whatever else. So should I have learned to read sheet music, and would it have helped my overall musicianship on guitar? Yeah, I probably should. Yeah. Should I ruminate about it and get embarrassed every time a 9-year-old kid comes in and whips out a piece of sheet music and can play all the notes in the staff in a few minutes, the same thing that would take me 10 minutes? No. I shouldn't care about that. It really doesn't matter in the end. Thanks for watching.
Sheet Happens, where you can buy guitar and bass tablature books edited and approved by the artists themselves. If you're a fan of learning awesome music, head over to their website at www.sheethappenspublishing.com and use code word DEAN at checkout for 15% off.